because we don't want to differentiate these people. What you should do, either conduct another election and make sure things are validly done. Now, you turn around and say, no, what we will do is to deduct and subtract. And you are doing that for one person. You see, this is where the problem
comes. That's a mistake from someone, and in this case, the INEC official. Well, even though in the full glare of the party agents who didn't raise any eyebrow until they went to court. So who should be penalized for this, for this error? Because it's a grievous error either way. Because the Supreme Court could also have ruled either way because they are also humans.
Yes, I agree. But you see, it's not about sanction. It's about lesson. Because by the time we start the blame game, looking for this and that, at the end of the day, we may not get the right result. What we need to do is to avoid future occurrence, okay? And INEC, as the umpire, they must be able to defend their position. They have taken a decision that these votes will count towards the victory of a particular individual. Then at that particular moment, you need to stand by your decision. You need to say, look, this is why we have the right to do this, we have done it. But you see, even if the Court of Appeal or any of the justices said, no, that is wrong, what you should do is to give them a second bite of the cherry and say, okay, this is what we do. What you will not do is to say, okay, those votes should be deducted so that this person becomes the winner. Where is the justice in that? And I'm glad the Supreme Court, that is why the Supreme Court said we have to restore this. And then I said something the last time I was here. Judges must avoid what they call fishing expedition. You see, fishing expedition, that, okay, don't worry, if we don't get Pharaoh this way, let's try whether we can get her this way. You understand me? Then when after deducting the vote, you now said, okay, let's see whether it's not even a member of that political party. Okay, whether we can use that or not. Do you understand me? And no, because if you read the judgment, there was a warning from the Supreme Court that they need to be very careful. You see, when lawyers can get creative, but you as the judge, you have to tell them, no, let's focus on the issues. And in all those courts we have been, when you go to court, the first thing the judge asks you, let us identify the issues.
Yes.
And then once you identify the issue, once you stray, it brings you back to those issues so that you get focused. Otherwise, when the lawyers become very creative and they are standing on their feet, they can come up with all sorts of fantastic argument. Then you can say, no. Go back to the issue. Right. And that's why I say there are lessons to be learned in this case.
Right. We've been getting reactions from other opposition parties with regards to this judgment. You're smiling because I can see that you have the paper here. And I would like for you to respond to it, where the APC is talking about this matter. They were saying that they did not trade off that the position of the party or something like that. There was no trade.
They would love to keep Kano.
Yes, they would have loved to keep Kano.
Yes.
We know how strategic Kano is when we're talking about election and all of that. But let's get your reaction.
Well, the reaction is very simple. It's just unfortunate we have not even heard from Baba Ganduje himself, because you will recall vividly Baba Ganduje, as an individual, is a very colorful character in the sense that, number one, some of you, if you cast your mind back, you will know what happened to the Emir of Kano.
Right.
Then, also, when we lost at the Court of Appeal, he addressed a press conference that this is how we managed to nail them. But now, now that the Supreme Court has ruled in NNPP favor, we didn't hear anything. But the APC guy, I even align myself with his statement that there was no trade-off. And I agree with that, absolutely. Because even the president, if you listen to the governor of Kano State, he said there was a lot of pressure on the president to intervene. But he said, no, let the rule of law prevail. And that's the way it's supposed to be. I don't even know whether the president has the capacity to influence the Supreme Court justice.
That would have been the next question I was going to ask.
Because I doubt that. But, having said that, people can speculate. So many things happen behind the scene that we may not be able to, we may not be aware of.
Except
and
for
then,
up in our head.
yeah, and the other disturbing aspect, you now have an APC government that is struggling with credibility, with what happened to Beta Edu and what has been going on in the last few weeks. And Nigerians are going through bread and water month by month. You know, then you see that, then you are the president now trying to twist the judges. That's not going to happen. It's going to be a bad credibility on them. And I'm glad the rule of law has prevailed now. But where do we go from here? That is the next question. Right. And the next question is the future election. What we need to do is very, very important that anytime there is going to be an election, all these judges, they must be retrained. There must be a serious training and say, look, because sometimes you see they are human beings themselves. This issue about whether Engineer Abba Yusuf is a member of NNPP or not, that has been decided even before the petition to that tribunal, because there was a time whereby the candidature of Peter Obi was actually challenged. Yes. And the court said, look, those are internal affairs of the party. You don't need to deal with it. So that is why these judges at the Supreme Court, they were not happy. That, look, there has been a judicial precedent that those are pre-election matters. You don't have jurisdiction to deal with that. Because the people coming before you, they are challenging the result of the election. Stop dealing with pre-election matters. So, you know, those are the things we need to train them. And then, you see, there's something you call refresher courses. It doesn't mean you are not who you are, but when certain things is going to happen, they send you that, okay, go and do this training. And that will help to avoid this ugly situation.
Right, Mr. You know, when you said something, I was just smiling, and then I'm wondering whether you know what the reason why I'm smiling. You said the president, you're not sure whether the president has influence, you know, in swaying the Supreme Court in taking certain decisions. But it appears that after the judgment in Kano and all of these other 7 states, virtually all opinions are like, oh, this was good, this was good. Was it because this speaks to, I won't take the fact away that you are a lawyer, at the same time also a politician. Did you just take the position that there was no suasion of the Supreme Court's judgment because it actually favored you? If it had not favored you, would you have seen it otherwise? Because that's one exactly, you know, maybe they were influenced and all of that. When do we begin to see that whatever comes from the court, because they say the Supreme Court is infallible, and it's infallible because it is final. I hope that maxim is correct. So where do we begin to, you know, extricate the hands of the president, the governor, whatever, in judgments that are being served by the courts?
I take your point, but I just want you to take my point. And that point, if you ask me to speak as a lawyer, I will tell you, judgment of the court, we have to respect the judgment of the court. That is why you are an officer of the court. Having said that, it's not impossible. It doesn't happen here because we are all black. That's where you go to UK and then you lose a case. The moment you walk outside, you see somebody say the judge is a racist. Say, that's why it is and that. So sometimes those the loser will have something to say. That's the. But when you approach the court, you must approach the court with 2 minds. You either win or you lose. That is why it is an adversarial system. You say yours, I will say mine. Somebody sits as an arbiter who will listen to both sides and come up with a decision. So it's an adversarial system of justice, and people need to come to that. But if you ask me that as a politician, Adibi will lose this case at the Supreme Court, what I'm going to say is that I'm going to play opposition politics and say, well, that means APC, they are trying to entrench themselves in power. They know that if they lose Kano, well, the future election, there might be an issue. That is normal. It comes within the territory.
It's as if you have prepared what you would say.
No, it comes within the territory. Okay? So that's why I told you earlier that every action, you should expect a reaction. And if it doesn't favor you, people can react, their demeanor might change, they might react negatively, and what have you. But my own issue is that, and I'm still reiterating that point, these judges, you see, when you are interpreting all the electoral act, you don't interpret it as if it's a tax law whereby you give strict interpretation. And the beauty of our constitution and all the rules and what have you is flexibility is there. And the people who are implementing all these things, they are human beings. There can be an oversight. There can be a mistake. Nobody is infallible. But does that invalidate their decision? That is the question. And when you are trying to decide that question, look at it. Let me tell you, there was an incident years ago whereby this woman was unlawfully evicted. And she came with a long list of all her goods. And the other side, they were saying, no, go and bring the receipt. Go and do this. And the judge said, but there is something. When she moved the goods, after evicting her, she hired 2 trucks, okay, to help her pack the goods to storage. Now, that's why I believe her, that she has all these goods. Because, you understand me? If the judge is saying, go and bring this, I think she bought some years ago. So, you see, look at things in the round that, okay, fair enough, this has happened, but has there been other evidence that rebuts what you are saying? If you don't do that, your decision will be too narrow to be effective.
Right.
So that is something. But the nut and bolt of what I'm saying is that this decision is a very good decision, not because it favors my party, but it's just because the mistake made by the lower court has been corrected by the Supreme Court, and that's the way to go.
Right. Earlier on, you mentioned that you hope this decision will stand the test of time. I'm wondering what you mean. You need to expatiate on that.
Yes, why I said it will stand the test of time is that there's going to be another election in 2027. Right. All things being equal, if we have another mega party, it may well be, the President Tinubu will no longer be in power, hopefully, touch wood. But what I'm saying is that for future election, people are going to challenge it, okay? That's why I'm using the word, the test of time.
Right.
Some people are still going to. But when they're approaching the court, it is very important they realize that, look, if it's a pre-election matter, these courts, they don't have jurisdiction about it, okay? Then don't go there and say this was not stamped by INEC, and the Supreme Court has said, no, you can't do that, because at the end of the day, that is wrong. Now, and my point about the test of time is that whoever wants to, you see, you don't just go to court because you are only aggrieved. You need to try and consider things that, what are the chances? What are the merits? That is why, if you are a lawyer, as you go along, you keep reviewing the merit, because along the line, before the trial, evidence can come to light that can change your position. And you can decide at that stage that, look, we need to change our strategy, or you advise the client. And they've told you that as a lawyer, you must be able to tell the client a bad news too, that, look, listen, if you are convicted, you will go to prison for 25 years. That's a long time. However, if you plead guilty, the judge might give you 10 years. You have the option here. If it's going to be a death penalty, you have to say, well, at the end of the day, if you are convicted, the judge has the power to sentence you to death. So, you see, it's not that all the time you tell them the good news. And you understand, it's even better. That's why they say promise little and deliver big. If you know it's going to get 10,000 pounds, you can just tell him, look, maybe 6,000, but I'll try and see if I can push it further. Because otherwise, clients read newspaper. If they realize that Mr. A was awarded 20,000 without looking at the circumstances, that's what they will have at the back of their mind. So it is very important that this judgment, anybody who wants to approach the court in future about eligibility, nomination, primary of a candidate, they will need to think their position.
So about whoever is going to be re-elected or who is going to be the president, 2027, that's in the hands of the people. Vox populi, vox Dei, and whatever God says is predestined. But then, talking about the mega party, Professor Patutomi is also mulling this, and then he had already said that Atiku of the PDP, Obi of Labour Party, Kokonso of the NNPP, your party, they have agreed to join forces. And the APC is reacting, saying that Utomi it has specialization in forming a mega party that does not see the light of day. Yeah. So what would you rather advocate, ahead of 2027? Is that possibility of your party, having that formidable alliance with other parties?
That's not, whatever I'm going to say, it's not the party position, because the party has yet to take a position in the recent.
Yeah, what you see, what you think.
Having said that, as I do, there is strength in number. And if people come together, it helps. And again, this idea, polarization of political party here and there, where you have a long ballot paper,
like the length of,
which is
like the length of the prayer mat.
Yes, that if the PDP, the Labour Party, the NNPP can come together and form a one mega party, I think that is even good for our democracy. And again, don't forget, the APC, they are more entrenched in power. Now, 8 years of President Buhari, now there's a continuation now also. So if they can come together so that we get them out of power, I think I will be in support of that. But it will depend, because, time is a good weapon. Let's see how it will play out.
But do you think your party would want to align with these other parties?
No, what I think is that the party is open to negotiation, because everything about politics is about alliance and realliance. So it's not impossible. The door is open. Senator Rabi Kwakwazo, if you've had the privilege of knowing him well, he has an open door policy. He will listen to you, maybe, if at the end of the day a decision will be taken. But what I'm going to say is that as a member of the NNPP, definitely the door is open. If anybody wants to come for an alliance, come, let's see the menu. And then if it's something we are happy about, then
if it's delicious enough.
If it's delicious enough, then we go for it.
Still talking about the Kano politics, and then the emergence of the victory of Governor Abba Yusuf. He has announced the creation of Kano Elders Council, and this includes the former governors, deputy governors, Senate president. And talking about former governors, Abdullahi Ganduje is also among them. Do you see?
Surprisingly.
Why do you say surprisingly? He's part of the former governors. So,
I agree.
What's in your mind?
Oh, what were you expecting? You didn't expect to see his name on
Well, if I'm the governor, I won't put Ganduje there.
Why?
That is, well, you know what happened.
But it's all politics.
It's all politics. But at the end of the day, some people take this politics to the extreme, okay? But you can see how he has been attacking Senator Rabiu Kakwaso consistently. Right, even during the campaign. That is one. Then number two is a man who is not happy because this new governor is the beautification of Kano State, which is already going on. Some of the structures put in place by Ganduje, they were all demolished.
So what Ganduje did were not beautification. What the current governor of your party is doing is beautification.
Well, that is where the politics...
Even though the tax, the tax, what's it called? Funds,
taxpayers' money
were actually dismissed, and
yes,
you didn't see anything wrong in that.
What I'm saying, what the governor did, there is nothing wrong with that. The present governor, Abba Yusuf, because if you've been to Kano, you will see that, look, the beauty of that city is now coming back. When Governor Ganduje said, went on building this and allocating shops here and there, the governor said, no, they didn't follow the right procedure. And we are in government. We need to do things differently. That is why government moved from one party to another. But the point is that for the Elders Council, which has been created, that even speaks volume about the nature of Engineer Abba Yusuf, that this is a man who is not full of vengeance. He's a man who is ready to work with everybody. And if should I be the governor with what happened, I won't put Ganduje there.
So you'd have played the politics to the extreme.
No, if you say to the extreme, at the end of the day,
it should be about the people and not about your personal interests.
I take your point. Right. It should be about the people. But being about the people is not about me alone. My predecessors too need to think about the people. When, by the time he starts attacking and criticizing, working against my interests, so that I will not emerge as the governor of the state. So if it has the people in mind, that applies both ways. It doesn't apply to
No, but it's not politics. He wanted someone, you wanted someone. It's not politics. You know?
Yes.
And then whenever you or whoever wins.
And that should be played in a very fair manner.
I just want to ask a quick question. How should the governor of the state now hit the ground running? Now is the time for governance, for the people. He can see that he has the people's support.
Yes.
How should he build on that?
Well, what he needs to do, people-oriented programs, that should be the priority. What has happened in the past, there's no point flogging a dead donkey. What has happened in the past, it's past now. Let's put that behind us and move on. We want to retain Kano. We want to retain Kano for the next 7 years, if possible. And the overwhelming support of Kano people is with NNPP. We need to build on that. We need to make sure that we do not do something that will make them that support to go away. So, and it's not limited to that. I'm from Ogun State. As in the next few months to come, we are going to invite that governor of Kano State to visit Ogun State, whereby we will all troop out to show our support. We will reach out to all the Hausa community, those in Shagam and everything. And by adventure, I'm going to be the chairman of that committee. So we are going to, show this governor. Because, you see, NNPP is not going to hold on to Kano alone. And once you have Kano, we need to try as much as possible to see whether we can get another state. And we are hiring critically, looking at Ogun State, whether that can come in.
Well, it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen how that's.
But you need to know one thing. Optimism. If you're a politician, you must have optimism.
That's right.
Optimism makes things happen.
And they said that you are an incurable optimist. But all the same, while we're happy that Kano did not go the way of riots and all of that, we also are worried about what's going to happen to lawmakers in Plateau State, because they lost, in this process, and they seem to be, and they are already, saying that they are going to go back, they are going to take their mandate and all of that. Are you not worried about any chaos that this might?
Well, that is, I'm glad you asked me that question, because it's something I was thinking last night, that, look, what is the way to go? Because don't forget, the Court of Appeal took that decision. That's the final court in relation to House of Assembly and what have you. Now, I read in the newspaper yesterday or so that some of the legislators, those who lost out, they are going to petition the NJC. Yeah. But that is one. But whether the NJC now has the power to overturn this decision of the Court of Appeal, the only thing NJC can do is to sanction if they deem it appropriate. So, but there is something, you said something earlier, that the Supreme Court is inviolable, is the last court. It doesn't work that way, because don't forget, we've had a situation whereby the Supreme Court reached a decision, and then there was an argument that is the final. And then they turned around and said, no, we can review our decision. And that even happened even in United Kingdom during the Pinochet case. After the House of Lords, we have Supreme Court now, the House of Lords. That is the final court. And then after they've taken a decision, they now realize that one of the members of the Lord is a member of Amnesty International, and Amnesty International is part of the case. And they now said, no, that can't be right, because you put yourself in
interest.
Yes. And then what they now did is that was where the precedent that we can still review our decision. And now in this Plateau case, whether the NJC will now tell the Court of Appeal that they should carry out a review, taking account of what has happened, let's wait and see how it plays out. But having said that, they've seen the signal from the Supreme Court when they criticized them that decision, they should not have entertained it, although it's not a case before them. But they've expressed an opinion, and we can build on that and move forward.
All right. We'll have to leave this conversation here now. We must thank you, UK Solicitor, Public Affairs Analyst, Chieftain of the NNPC, NNPP, Barrister Femi Aino. Thank you for your time
so much for
on the program.
Thank you.
All right, let's quickly bring you sports update, talking about AFCON now. And the African Cup of Nations match that took place on Monday, where champions, the Teranga Lions of Senegal, made light work of Gambia in their opening Group C fixture.